Good evening and welcome to 365 Days of Amazing Stories with Theo Mayer. We are on day 114, 2024. So I had an incredible day today. I'm going to tell a story about it. Started off delivering a load of wood to a wonderful client in Pebble Beach, California, and enjoyed good conversation, beautiful weather as I unloaded and also stacked wood for him. We shared some interesting stories, for sure. And from there, I ended up doing a few errands and then picking up some decomposed granite, which is basically like very, very rough sand, and some gravel to take down to a friend's driveway and deposit a layer of fresh decomposed granite over the driveway to fill in ruts that were created through the winter storms. I ended up loading quite a bit of material onto the truck, 1.93 tons. So almost 4,000 pounds of material. And this is a heavy load. Now, I've carried loads that are this heavy before with this truck, and all was well as I was traveling south on Highway 1. From Granite Rock, where you pick this material up, which is in Sand City, you go over a fairly, high hill between Sand City, Seaside, California, and Monterey and Carmel. So as you go up over this hill, it's quite steep. And then as you go down the other side, it's steep as well. All was well. I went through the last light at Rio Road on Highway 1 and continued south. And it was just an incredibly beautiful day. Sun shining on the water, some cloud cover, but not much. Pelicans flying by, vultures circling in the air, occasional hawk. I drove past Point Lobos and all was well, through Carmel Highlands, and I'm traveling now on fairly even terrain. It's up and down a little bit, but it's mostly downhill along this stretch of highway that I'm going into, from the highlands to a place called Sobrani's Canyon. And just as I'm getting very close to Sobrani's Canyon, there's suddenly a fairly significant and loud clanking coming from what appeared, or what I should say, what sounded like my transmission. So I slowed way down, and I was in the highway with nowhere to pull off. Highway 1 along that stretch has some pullouts, but not along the entire way. So I had to go very slow. I had one person behind me, put on the blinker, exited, and got off. I had to pull out as quickly as I could, and backed up and went forward and tried to figure out what was going on. I got out of the truck, went underneath the truck, looked, couldn't see anything at all. But it got to the point that when I tried to move the truck, it really would not move. Something was significantly wrong. I was able to put it in four-wheel drive low and move it a little bit, which was important because it was a little bit close to the road still. But I realized I was not going to get home. I got out of the truck, and just as I was getting out, one of my neighbors passed by. Now, she noticed me, I'm sure, but she was driving pretty quickly to get home. I'd seen her at Whole Foods probably, I don't know, an hour or so before that. And she said how she was trying to get home as quickly as she could. I guess it was she was trying to get to the school where her daughter went so she would pick her up on time. So she'd obviously picked up her daughter. She was heading home. She didn't realize the predicament I was in, continued on her way, but she lived, well, past where I lived. So it would have been easy to get a ride home with her. I kind of was kicking myself at that point. Heading north on the highway was a tow truck with one of those beds that you'd pull the truck up onto. And I didn't realize it was a tow truck until it was too close. And by the time I was waving to the truck, he'd driven by. Now I'm beginning to feel like, okay, I'm missing my opportunities. And, well, I don't know if the universe is going to continue to offer them to me. Another neighbor went by, but someone who lived low down in the canyon, so wouldn't have been able to take me all the way home without some extra effort. And then Dean Dura showed up. He lives just past me as well. I got out, I started waving to him. I didn't yell anything, and he put on his blinker, stopped as soon as he could, turned around, which is about 100 yards down the road, came back, pulled in behind me and asked, "What's up?" I told him. He said, "Hop in, give you a ride home." So I got to enjoy Dean's wonderful company on my ride home. Got home, and the plan that I had made in my head as I was sitting there, hoping that someone would come by, is I would go down with another truck, unload about half the material into the other truck, drive it up to my friend Mark's, put it on the driveway, and then leave the truck for the night and come back the next day, get another load out, and get a tow truck to take it to the transmission people that I know that will work on the truck. Now, the thing that was amazing to me is here's this kind of minor catastrophe that took place. And I didn't really get upset. I just was like, okay, this is happening, and it's a beautiful place to be broken down, and what else can I do? In the past, I think I would have gotten more upset. So maybe I'm making some strides in just accepting the good and the bad as they come without getting too upset about it. Once I got home, I made a couple of quick calls to people, one to Monterey Transmission, where I would take my truck to just make initial arrangements. And then I got in my other truck and boogied on back to begin unloading material from one truck to another. I'd left my dog in the truck just as a, precaution. I had chainsaws in the truck and ropes and a lot of equipment. And I preferred that it wouldn't get messed with. By the time I got back, everything was still good. And I started unloading. Somebody pulled up behind me. Was this really delightful family, and they communicated with me for a little while. We talked. 2 men and a woman, all of whom worked south of the road closure in Big Sur. They were on their way home and just stopped where I was stopped because it's so beautiful there, and they went for a little walk. Then another car pulled up, and this car was filled with people from France, a family who was visiting and had stopped just to take a walk as well. So we chatted for a little while. Then a couple of people from Germany came by, and we talked for quite a while. These two people were both neurologists, and so we had a lively conversation, and it was sort of fun to share with them some beautiful places where they could go, because they'd come out to California specifically to Big Sur with the hope and desire to be able to drive the entire Highway 1 from Carmel down to San Luis Obispo County, which of course they can't do, because I think there's 3 different places along the road where it's closed. So you never know, even in these moments where you feel like things have gone wrong, haven't gone the way you wished they had, that if you just take it in stride, you take it as it comes, you stay open, try to stay positive, amazing things can happen. And I felt like I had experiences that I never would have had, and made connections with people that I never would have made had my truck not broken down when it did. Anyway, something to think about the next time something doesn't quite go the way you want it to. All right. Thanks for joining. Have a good rest of your day.